The past is a chain that binds only those who refuse to let it go. And the Stoics taught that the weight of yesterday's mistakes, losses, and regrets in money or in life is nothing more than an illusion if we learn to see it with wisdom. Imagine carrying a bag filled with stones, each one carved with the memory of a financial misstep, a missed opportunity, a debt unpaid, or a reckless expense. And with each passing day, you lift that bag onto your back again, never questioning why you choose to carry it. You walk slower, your body aches, and still you refuse to put it down because you believe the stones define you. But what if I told you that the Stoics held a secret, a lesson hidden across centuries about how to finally set down that burden and walk forward unshackled? That is the truth we will travel toward together in this journey. And I promise you that by the end of this reflection, you will uncover a way of seeing your financial past that will change not only how you think about your mistakes, but how you move into the future. Stay with me until the conclusion, because there is a key that unlocks the prison door of regret, and once revealed, it cannot be unseen. And while you listen, I invite you to reflect on your own path. Do ask yourself this question: what is the heaviest stone you carry from your financial past? And what might your life feel like if you finally laid it down? Share that thought with others, because by naming our burdens, we begin the act of releasing them. The Stoics believed that the past exists only in memory, and memory is a story told by the mind. Seneca wrote that we are tormented more often by our imagination than by reality. And nowhere is this clearer than in the way people obsess over money that is already gone. A merchant in ancient Rome might have lost his cargo in a storm, watching coins vanish as the ship sank beneath the waves. And yet 10 years later, he still trembled when the sea roared, because he carried not only the memory of loss, but also the fear that it defined his worth. Today, perhaps you lost savings in an investment gone wrong, or spent recklessly in youth, or let an opportunity pass that now seems like a doorway forever closed. The shape of the story changes, but the essence is the same. We suffer not because the loss remains, but because we grip it with both hands, refusing to let it dissolve into the stream of time where it belongs. Epictetus, once a slave, understood this lesson deeply. He taught that we should not mourn what is outside our control, but direct our energy toward what is within. Imagine him speaking to a student devastated by financial ruin, reminding him that the coins were never his in truth, only on loan from fortune. To lose them is to return them, and to cling to the pain of their departure is to chain the soul to something already gone. The student who listens learns that freedom does not come from repairing the past, which cannot be changed, but from mastering the present, which is alive with choice. This lesson is not confined to the marble halls of Rome. Consider a samurai in feudal Japan who loses honor through a failed duty, or a farmer in ancient China whose harvest withers under drought. Across cultures, people have looked back at losses with despair, imagining that what has been defines forever what will be. Yet in each tradition, wisdom emerges that mirrors Stoicism. The past cannot bind unless you let it. The samurai can rise again through discipline, the farmer through persistence, the merchant through learning, the worker through effort. And in our modern age, where screens glow with reminders of credit scores, debts, and financial histories recorded in permanent ink, the Stoic reminder is more urgent than ever. Those numbers are shadows, not chains. They describe, but they do not command. The mind paints the past in vivid colors. A single mistake can become a mural stretching across the years, blotting out all other images. Yet the Stoics teach us to repaint the canvas. Imagine standing before that mural with a brush dipped in calm awareness, choosing to draw over the storm with a sunrise, over the loss with a lesson, over the regret with resilience. It is not denial for the past happened, but it is transformation, because meaning belongs to the present mind, not the lost moment. There is a reason Marcus Aurelius, Emperor of Rome, wrote in his Meditations that time is like a river carrying all things into oblivion, and that to resist this flow is futile. He reminded himself daily that wealth, fame, even the empire itself would dissolve, and that clinging to them was to drown. He practiced releasing each attachment before time could wrench it away, so that when the loss arrived, his soul was already free. If an emperor ruling the known world could train himself to let go of attachments, then surely we, with our smaller fortunes and personal struggles, can learn to let go of our past financial mistakes. Picture a modern professional who invested heavily in a business that failed. Each time they hear the word failure, they flinch because their mind replays the collapse. They tell themselves they are defined by it, and thus they walk through life as if carrying a scar visible to all. But the Stoic would counsel otherwise. The failure is not the scar itself, but the insistence on touching it again and again. To let go is not to forget the failure, but to see it as a teacher. The lesson is preserved, the pain is dissolved. This transformation is what Stoicism offers, turning wounds into wisdom, debts into discipline, and regrets into resolve. And yet, you may ask, how do we actually let go? It is not enough to admire the idea. The Stoics practiced exercises that anyone can attempt today. They imagined the loss of what they valued, not to torment themselves, but to train their hearts to be free. They called this premeditatio malorum, the premeditation of evils. By picturing the loss before it happened, they lessened its sting and reminded themselves that what mattered most was never at risk, for character cannot be taken by fortune. Try this yourself. Imagine the money you regret losing was never yours to begin with. Imagine it as water poured into your hands, slipping through your fingers. You may cup your palms tighter, but still it flows away. Now imagine that you smile as it goes, because you recognize that your hands remain, and with them, the power to build again. The financial past is a teacher, not a prison, but only if we choose to study its lessons instead of serving its sentence. Think of a traveler walking a long road, pausing at milestones carved with memories. One stone reads debt, another reads loss, another reads missed chance. If he sits at each stone and refuses to move, he never arrives anywhere. If instead he reads, reflects, and walks on, the stones become markers of progress, not anchors of regret. Your past financial mistakes are such stones. They do not block the road. They only mark where you have been. Even science today echoes Stoic wisdom. Psychologists note that rumination, the act of replaying mistakes endlessly, fuels anxiety and depression. But those who practice reframing, who see mistakes as steps in learning, show resilience and hope. In this, modern research aligns with ancient philosophy. The brain can be trained to release the grip of regret, just as the Stoics trained their minds through daily reflection and meditations on impermanence. Let us widen the lens further. In India, the Bhagavad Gita teaches that we have control only over our actions, not the fruits of our actions. This mirrors the Stoic principle that outcomes belong to fortune, effort belongs to us. A trader who loses money in the market can torment himself endlessly, or he can remember that his choice was within his control. The result was not, and his virtue lies in making wise choices again, not in rewriting the past. In Buddhism too, we find the teaching of impermanence. The clinging to what is gone is the root of suffering. Across the world, across centuries, the same truth, but the question remains, why is it so hard? Why do we cradle the ashes of burned wealth as if warmth could still be found there? The answer lies in identity. People confuse their financial history with their personal worth. To lose money is to feel they have lost themselves. The Stoic cuts through this illusion with a blade of reason. You are not your bank account. You are not your debts. You are not your lost opportunities. You are the character you build, the discipline you practice, the wisdom you embody. Wealth may come and go, but virtue remains. And virtue is the only treasure that no fire can consume, no thief can steal, no storm can sink. Now let us return to the promise I made at the beginning. I said there is a secret, a lesson the Stoics guarded about how to finally let go of the financial past. That secret is this: the past is not yours. It never was. It belongs to time, and time has taken it. The only thing that remains yours is the meaning you give it now. If you see it as a chain, you will remain bound. If you see it as a teacher, you will walk free. The key that unlocks the prison door of regret is in your hand, and it is called perspective. So I leave you with a question, one that only you can answer. Will you continue to carry the stones of your financial past, heavy and cold upon your back, or will you set them down and step into the freedom of the present moment? The Stoics offer the courage to choose, and when you choose, you discover that the greatest wealth is not measured in gold or numbers, but in the lightness of a soul unchained by yesterday. Imagine yourself standing at the edge of a vast river at dusk, the water flowing swiftly before your eyes. In your hands you hold a jar filled with coins, each one etched with memories of mistakes, debts, or misjudgments from your past. The natural impulse is to clutch the jar tightly, to guard it as though it contains the essence of who you are. But the Stoics would tell you to tip the jar and let the coins fall into the current, watching as the river sweeps them away. This is not an act of waste, but of liberation, because the river is time itself, and no hand can hold back its current. The past is already carried downstream whether you like it or not, and the only question is whether you continue clutching the empty jar or allow yourself to walk forward unburdened. Seneca once said that while we waste our time hesitating and postponing, life is slipping away. Think about that in the context of financial regrets. Every hour you spend replaying the past, lamenting money spent or opportunities missed, is an hour stolen from the present where you could be building something new. A worker who lost wages in youth but continues to lament it in old age has lost not only the money but also decades of peace. The Stoic lesson is clear. The past loss is gone, but the choice to let it poison the present is yours. And once you see this, you cannot unknow it. Let us draw an image from a different culture. Picture an artisan in the bustling markets of Cairo centuries ago. He misprices his goods and loses a day's worth of profit. He can shout, curse, and replay the mistake endlessly, or he can learn quickly, adjust, and move forward into the next day with renewed awareness. The artisan who dwells on yesterday's misstep sells poorly today, while the one who accepts it as past writes a new story in the present. Here, halfway across the world from the Roman forums, the same wisdom shines. Life is not shaped by the mistake, but by the response to it. And consider a modern reflection. In financial therapy, experts speak of money scripts, deep beliefs we hold about money based on childhood experiences. Many people live haunted by the script of scarcity, repeating the belief that because their family once lacked, they will always lack. These scripts chain them to a financial past that no longer exists. Stoicism offers a way to rewrite the script, to pause, examine, and discard beliefs that no longer serve. Just as Epictetus advised his students to question every impression before believing it, we too can question whether our financial identity is truly bound to the story we keep repeating. There is also a universal law of impermanence. A lost coin, a failed investment, a bankrupt company, all are echoes of the same truth that everything in the material world shifts and passes. The Stoics trained themselves to accept this by practicing voluntary poverty, reminding themselves that they could be content with bread and water. By occasionally stripping themselves of comforts, they proved to their souls that no loss could destroy them. Imagine if you tried something similar, living simply for a few days, not as punishment but as training, discovering firsthand that your dignity, your mind, and your peace remain untouched by material reduction. You begin to see that regret over past losses fades when you learn that happiness never depended on those possessions to begin with. Let us look at Marcus Aurelius again. but in a new light. Beyond Rome's grandeur, beyond the marble and gold, he reminded himself that fame and fortune dissolve into dust. He wrote that the universe is change, life is opinion. What did he mean? He meant that the story you tell about your financial past is opinion, not fact. The same event could be called disaster or teacher. The choice of narrative determines whether you remain a prisoner or step into freedom. In the Andes, the Inca people believed in cycles of renewal, that after destruction comes rebuilding. If crops failed, they did not see it as the end of abundance, but as part of a rhythm of life that would restore balance. In this, too, we find resonance with Stoicism. What has been lost financially is not the final word, but part of the rhythm of fortune. Today's failure can become tomorrow's wisdom if met with resilience instead of despair. Imagine your own financial history as a library. Some volumes are heavy with regret, others light with joy. The Stoic practice is not to burn the library or deny its existence, but to read the volumes with clarity, to extract the lessons, and then to close the book and place it back on the shelf. You do not carry the book everywhere you go, weighing yourself down. You let it rest in the library where it belongs while you walk into the next chapter of life. And now we approach the heart of the promise. The truth revealed by the Stoics is that the financial past does not belong to you anymore. It belongs to time, and time has already claimed it. The only ownership you retain is over the lesson you choose to carry forward. If you cling to regret, you choose chains. If you embrace the lesson, you choose freedom. So let me ask again, what is the heaviest stone you carry from your financial past? Is it debt, loss, a mischance, a reckless choice? Picture it now. See it clearly. And then imagine setting it down by the roadside, taking a breath and stepping forward lighter. The stone remains behind you, silent and harmless, while you walk on with this is the fulfillment of the promise, that the secret of the Stoics is not in denying the past, but in refusing to serve it as master. They teach that the wealth which cannot be bought is the freedom of a soul that no longer bends beneath the weight of yesterday. And as you carry this forward, remember that every day offers a new coin minted by time, a coin of choice, of effort, of presence. Do not squander it by paying debts that exist only in memory. Spend it wisely here and now in the currency of virtue and resilience. And so I leave you with a final question, one to hold as you step away from this reflection. Will you continue to let yesterday's shadows define today's light? Or will you choose to let the past rest, carrying only its wisdom, and walk free into the wealth of the present? Picture a man in ancient Athens who once gambled away his inheritance in the flicker of a single night. He wakes each morning for years afterward, hearing again the rattle of dice, the sound of his fortune vanishing. But here is the difference. If he listens to the voice of regret, he chains himself to that night forever. If instead he listens to the Stoic wisdom, he sees the truth that the inheritance was never his essence. It was only wealth, and wealth flows like a river. His essence lies in his capacity to learn restraint, to practice moderation, to rebuild with character. And in that moment, the night of loss transforms from curse to tutor. Now imagine a modern woman who carries the memory of a failed business. Each time she considers a new venture, the voice of the past whispers that she is doomed to fail again. The weight of that memory sits on her shoulders like armor, not protecting but restricting her. A Stoic perspective invites her to shed that armor, to recognize that the past failure does not prophesy the future. It is one chapter, already concluded. What matters is the action she chooses today. To stay shackled is to waste life in the echo of what no longer exists. To move forward is to live as if the past has already served its only purpose, which was to teach. We can draw even broader examples. In medieval Europe, peasants devastated by famine often believed themselves cursed, bound to misfortune. Yet those who endured with patience discovered that the famine did not define their worth. It defined only the conditions of that season. In their endurance, they demonstrated resilience that money could not measure. And so, centuries before and after Rome, humanity has repeated the same mistake of clinging to past misfortune and has been offered the same chance for release. Think also of the Buddhist monks in distant monasteries who speak of the past as a dream. You may wake and recall the dream vividly, but no matter how strong the memory, it cannot harm you now. Only your choice to dwell on it can keep it alive. In this way, your financial past is like a dream. Perhaps it frightens you, perhaps it saddens you, but it is over. You wake into today with the freedom to shape new reality. And now let us turn inward. Reflect on your own financial story. Perhaps there was a decision you regret, an opportunity you missed, a debt that still lingers in memory. Ask yourself this: does carrying that regret change the outcome, or does it only poison the present? The Stoic answer is uncompromising. You cannot change the past, but you can change your relationship to it. And in changing that, you alter your future. Seneca once reminded Lucilius that we are always complaining that our days are few, and yet we act as though they will never end. What he meant is that we squander our present hours in regret and anxiety, as though we had endless time to waste. But the truth is sharper. Our hours are limited, and each one surrendered to the shadow of the past is an hour stolen from living. Wealth is not in possessions alone, but in time itself. And the richest man is the one who spends time with clarity, not the one who wastes it replaying what cannot be undone. In the end, the Stoic lesson about the financial past is simple but profound. It's not about erasing memory or pretending that losses never happened. It is about mastering perspective. The past is not a chain but a story. You are the author, and you may choose how to interpret each chapter. Will you call it disaster and carry it forever, or will you call it education and let it rest? The choice defines your freedom. And so we return to the promise made at the beginning. The truth that only reveals itself at the end is this: the wealth that cannot be bought is the ability to let go. It is the power to stand in the present moment, unshackled by yesterday, to see financial mistakes not as prisons but as stepping stones, and to walk forward into the future with hands free to build anew. This is the Stoic secret hidden in plain sight, waiting for any who dare to release the past and claim the only true possession we ever hold, which is the present moment. Now I ask you one final question, not for me but for you to carry. What would your life look like tomorrow if you finally decided to let yesterday go? This is where the journey ends, and yet it is also where yours begins.